So today's session is about how to read a file with Python, and I've got two things that are going to be open today. One is a Jupyter notebook, and the other one is just a random file called sumfile.txt. And you can see here, if I double click here, we can see here that it's just a file in my little file system on the side of the Explorer bar of the Visual Studio Code. So it's this file, but it could be any text file. It could be this file over here, but I don't know why I've just kind of chosen this one. It was something from a legacy question earlier. But anyway, we're going to attempt to read this file, and I'm going to do it in three different ways. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to open up a little code block, and we're going to, in fact, I've prepared some of this time. I don't normally do a preparation, but just for the sake of comments, we're actually going to read a text file using a context manager. And when I say context manager, really it's just the with statement. So what I'm going to do is with, and for myself it opens up sort of like a little snippet that we've got. But the file that I'm looking to edit is the one called sumfile.txt, which is the file over here, sumfile.txt. So I've got to just type that down here. And so sum underscore file dot, and then text pops up there. So that's quite nice. And it's just data dot equals f dot read file dot read. This is a context manager, which means that everything's dealt with the with statements. We don't have to do an open and a close file afterwards. Now I'm just going to do a type in here because this data is of type string, and the reason that I know it's of type string is that if I hover over the read function, the signature tells me that it returns back a string. So what we're going to get back from the read is a string. And then we can just do I'm going to call this one method 1 actually, because I've actually got two methods for doing this. We'll see both of them, they're quite similar. So method 1 is going to look like this, and it's going to basically read the whole file, and I put as a string here. And we can then do a print of our data. So and I'll do print, let's say the data like this, and then on the next one we'll do print of our data like that, so that we get it on two separate lines. And we can run this little piece of code, and remember that the file that we're actually reading is this one. I hit Ctrl S just to make sure it's saved. The file that we're reading is this one. It's got some numbers here, and it's got some words, but it doesn't have to be like that. It could be of a different format. It could be in a story, it could be in anything. But anyway, let's just go ahead and read this file and see what comes about. And what we see is we get the data here, so that's just what we printed from our print statement. And then we get all of the lines of the actual data here that are printed down below. So that's the entire string of data. Now, the alternative method is to do a read lines, which looks very similar. So I'm just going to do that, and it's actually going to be a list. It's actually going to be a list of the strings like that, and I will actually again use the with statement. In fact, I could have actually copied everything out of here because it's going to be nearly identical. We're still going to have the sumfile.txt, so we won't have to replace that because we're going to be reading the same file. But instead of doing read, we're going to do read lines like this. And if we hover over the read lines, it shows us here that what we're getting back is a list of strings. So again, I'm just going to type in this data to be a list of strings, just like this. Just so that we know what we're getting back, we're quite clear on it. We don't have to do the type hinting, but it's nice to have it there. And again, we can do, I guess, this time I'll call it the lines, and also add one extra print here, which is just like I said, like a new line. So we've got a little space between the two pieces of data, and what we're expecting to get back is a list of strings rather than just one contiguous string over here. So when we actually run this, we do actually get back a list of strings. So we've got the data at the top from the original method, and that's got apple, banana, hi, hello, and elevator. And then we've got it from the second method where we're calling it the lines, where we're reading the read lines method, and we get back a list of strings. And if we notice here, we've got a \n, and each one of these represents a new line. So if we were to run all of these, we'd have to do some sort of extraction to extract out the new lines. Now, these are the first two methods, and one of the advantages of these methods is that it doesn't need any external modules. It just uses the with statement and kind of passes the data either into one big fat string or a list of strings, so which is relatively convenient. But I tend to actually always do this, which is import pandas as PD. And the reason why I tend to use this is it's quite flexible. So although the pandas module is quite large, you do tend to have this actually installed for the most part. Pandas and NumPy and Matplotlib are like 3 standard installations, kind of like that. Even though they don't come with Python, we tend to have them installed. So this method is the pandas method, and we have to import a module, so we give up one line for importing the module. But then we get this advantage that we get the pandas data frame, and all we have to do is a pd.read, and the version I'm going to read now is a read CSV, and it's quite flexible. So we just need to put in a some file here, some file.txt, that's automatically picked up. And then we don't want any headers, so header, but this is all relatively intuitive, equals none. So we don't want any headers over here. And also, if just by glancing at our file, we see that there's a separator that would come in here, and the separator is a space. But pandas would actually do this for us in some cases as well. But we can specify this. So separator equals, and then just a space over here. Now, the reason why this is convenient is it ends up looking like this. I will have to put in one extra line to clean it up. But this is our actual data frame that we read. And we see that we haven't got column headers at the moment. So the one extra piece that I would actually have to put in is df.columns like this, and then specify some column names. So for example, we'd have numbers here for the first column, and the second column here would be like words. I was going to say fruits, but they're not all fruits, just a bunch of words. And then we've got our data frame that, oops, let's have a look at the error. Yeah, I've just got to here put an equal sign because the actual columns are, these are the column headers. So we just do df columns equals and then numbers and words just like this. And then we get a nice looking data frame. And the advantage of this is that we can actually manipulate, not only has the data been cleaned relatively well by the pandas data frame, but we've actually now got our data in a nice homogeneous looking data frame, so a heterogeneous at least looking data frame, where we've got a set of numbers and a set of words, and pandas has done a lot of the cleaning for us. So that's basically it. This is reading files with Python. There's 3 different methods. The first methods are the open statements. One of them reads all of the data as a string. The other one reads all of the data as a list of strings. And finally, a third method that's offered, which is the pandas data frame, which gives us this heterogeneous set of data that's nice and clean. Now, you might have other methods as well, and you might have comments on this method, so by all means leave the comments in the comments section. And also, if you do like this video, hit the thumbs up and the like button and the follow button. And even if you don't like this video, still hit the thumbs up, like and the follow button. So that's it, how to read a file with Python.